Hello and welcome back. Our next lesson here is on area of basic geometric shapes. What's your goal? I want you to be able to calculate the area of a basic geometric shape. So we're going to talk about the formulas. First of all, what is area? Area is a measure of what is contained inside the perimeter of a shape. So we've been talking about perimeter the last couple days, and now we're looking at what's inside the perimeter. So for any shape, if that is the perimeter, area will be that which is inside said perimeter. All right, so we've got the perimeter, and then we have area. Okay, so let's look at those shapes. So there's four basic shapes I want you to be comfortable with this year. Of course, it's going to be up on the wall as an anchor. Here they are. We talked about the circle the other day, and you do need to know two measurements here. So center of circle, so a line passing through the center is what we call the diameter. And a measurement from center of circle to outside of circle is our radius. All right, now keep in mind, please, that the diameter is equal to twice the radius, or radius is equal to diameter divided by 2. Because when we talk about the area formula for a circle, area has to be in radius. All right, I want you to get into that mindset. There is a formula that deals with diameter. I don't really want to get into that. Radius is more common, and I want you to practice converting to the radius anyway. So the formula is, area is pi times r times r. Now, you might know this is pi r squared, and that's also correct. The top one of this first one allows you to use the calculator, shows you the steps in the calculator. If you're comfortable with the square button on the calculator, by all means go ahead and use pi r squared. So there is your area of a circle. Moving along to the triangle. The triangle has two measurements that we absolutely need. We need to know the base of the triangle, and it doesn't matter the shape. And the height is the distance from the highest point down to the base such that the line makes a right angle. So that is our height. So the formula then for area of a triangle, area equals base times height divided by 2. All right, so there is your area of a triangle. Over here we have a square or a rectangle. I'm going to assume it's a worst case scenario, it's a rectangle. So we have width and we have length. Area is equal to length times width. I guess probably length times width is the one that rolls off the tongue a little bit better. So there we are. And the last one I want to look at is a parallelogram. Parallelogram also has a length and a width. However, we need to know the distance from the base, so we're still going to use our width, and we need to know that height. And I can draw a little bit better height than that. Because what I want you to see is, that's the height, that's what we need. If we were to color in that area, make it green, and I take that area and I plant it over here, what we would find is that after cutting it off one side, adding it together, we end up with a square again, or a rectangle. However, the L is no good to us. We need to know that H. So the area of a parallelogram will be width times height. All right, I'm going to leave it as H as a reminder that we're looking for height, not the side length. Because what I'll do on a test, I'll give you all three sides. So you need to be able to make sure you give me the correct information, or use the correct information. So there you go. We have 4 examples to go through with you. It's just, it's really basic calculator work is what it comes down to for the most part. The more challenging will be the next lesson when we deal with composite shapes. So I got to add a couple numbers on here, so I'm just going to pause it. And voila, like magic, the numbers appear. I'm back. Haha. Anyhow, enough of that craziness. So I've added on all the dimensions here. So we're going to talk about it as we go through. With the circle, you have to make sure you have the radius. That's the first thing you got to check. When I went through high school and into university, I had to keep putting this on my page. Radius does not equal diameter. Sounds funny, but when you get into a test situation, your brain is in overdrive thinking about other things, silly mistakes like that occur. So radius does not equal diameter, and in this case we are given the radius. So we're all set to go. So the formula again, pi times r times r, and again you're going to have this up on the anchor chart. You're going to create a formula sheet for yourself. Pi is 3.14, radius is 2, radius is 2. So now it's just a matter of plugging that into the calculator. So we end up with a grand total of 12.56. Now, area is a measurement involving squared units. So because I was using feet, it will be square feet. So the units are very, very important to remember when you're writing up your answers. So the area here is 12.56 square feet. All right. Moving along to the triangle. I have provided you with 3 pieces of information. One of them is to try to trip you up. Remember that the formula, and you can bring this forward off your cheat sheet or the previous page, base times height divided by 2. So one of these measurements don't belong. So you got to pick out the one that is of no use to us. So the base is the side you're deciding to use as the bottom of the triangle. So that's going to be our 6. Height, again, is the distance from the highest point down to the base, making a right angle. So 4 is the number we really need. And 5 was the information I was trying to trick you into using. Not needed. So this becomes 6 times 4 divided by 2 on the calculator. So we end up with 12 units are squared. All right, so it's got to be meters squared, 12 meters squared. All right, any questions? I can't see your hands up, so there's no sense actually putting your hand up. You need to actually flag me down in the classroom. All right, now for the rectangle. Rectangle from the previous page, length multiplied by width. No trickery here. That's one side, that's the other. You cannot mess this up. Length and width, width and length. It does not matter what you call the sides. At the end of the day, it's 4 times 5. It's an area. 4 times 5 is 20 centimeters squared. You must remember that squared term, right? Everyone's nodding, saying, I will not forget it. I do not want to face his wrath. I will remember. Finally, I have an example of a parallelogram. Again, I've tried to provide too much information, so you need to look back at that formula. And there's a reason I picked those letters, right? I picked W and H, width multiplied by height. So which of them don't belong? Well, we know that the bottom of the shape is always one of them, width or length. So we do need the 7. The height is, again, it's like that triangle. It's the line that's perpendicular. It makes a right angle at the base. So 5 is our height. 6 is my tricky way of trying to trip you up. So you only need the 5 and the 7 in this case. So 5 times 7 is 35. And what did I do it in? I did it in feet again. So feet squared. So square feet. All right. So only a couple of tricks I can really throw at you. I'm going to give you way too many dimensions, and you got to pick out the ones you need. Formulas, again, we're going to put them up on the wall, so you're not going to be searching. You don't have to memorize. You do have to know how to use your calculator for this, so you need to know how to use the multiplication button and so on and so forth. But other than that, we should be golden. So anyhow, go ahead, start into the assigned work, and we'll pick it up from there and see how it goes. Good luck.